Faithful. I'm sitting down with Dalton Wasserman from PFF, Pro Football Focus. Dalton, tell us a little bit about your job and what you do over at PFF.
So I'm a co-host on both our NFL show and our college football show. Do a lot of writing and analysis on PFF.com as well. And it's a unique perspective because I used to do the grading behind the scenes and everything as well. I used to do all the data collection, player participation, where we chart who's on the field and what have you, quarterback charting, coverages, and then the grading itself. And I know the PFF grades are often so controversial, but I promise you the process is good. I've done it myself, and we go through everything twice over, so it is accurate.
And it's a fun way to see how the season unfolds and how players evolve over time. I always love looking down at the PFF charts, especially when we get deeper into the draft process and we can even pull up their college numbers. It's a lot of fun. So thank you for all the work you do over there as we start honing in on draft prospects. But we're at the Combine in Indy. Tell us what makes the Combine so special with having top talent from all across the nation be in one building.
I think you're right. Just having it all in one place and getting to compare them side by side, right? And obviously we're not, entirely privy to the interview process and everything that goes on behind the scenes. That's so important as well. But to get these guys and to get confirmed or sometimes even denied the athletic traits that they have that you see on film, right? Because even everything we do is based on the film and based on the film twice over. We do it, we do it off the broadcast and we do it on the All-22. And anytime you're trying to judge these players, you go, is the athleticism going to match up with on an NFL field with NFL players and NFL opponents, right? And, you come here to try to get an idea. Maybe it doesn't tell you the full story, but you get an idea of whether or not it does and who's going to hold up. And as always, there's the standouts that really put on a show for us, right? That you really sometimes makes you go back and take a second look and go, you know what? This guy might be better than we thought he was first time around.
Definitely. And your squad is going to be crunching the numbers. But for you personally, what are some of the most fun skills and drills to watch during the Combine?
I like, it depends on the position. I like a lot of even more so than the standard 40s and benches and stuff, a lot of the positional drills, right? Mm-hmm. I used to coach at least high school ball for a bit. And, when they get on the cones and they do even some of the short shuttles, or I love running back drills are some of my favorites too, because you get to see not only, okay, do these guys have good 40-yard dashes, but it's about efficient movements, right? It's about efficient cuts, lateral agility, everything that really matters on a football field. So to me, more so than all of the hard numbers that we're going to get, and they do absolutely matter, but seeing those guys and how fluid they are as athletes, that's to me one of the most fun things to watch.
Amazing. Well, tell me what you've learned about this year's Combine class. What are some of the strengths and where's the depth in this group of people?
This is definitely a more defensive draft. I would say, obviously, some of the fans that are starting to dig into this, it's not going to be as flashy when it comes to necessarily, say, quarterbacks or running backs. It just aren't the most, they're not the deepest positions in this class, but defensive line, absolutely loaded. We saw some of the stars of that class talking today on the podiums, guys like, Arvell Reese potentially off the edge, Ruben Bain, David Bailey. If you need defensive linemen, this is your year to need them, right? But even all of defense, right? It's as deep a linebacker class, I think, as we've seen in years. A lot of great safeties in this class. If you need help in the middle of your defense, this is the class for you.
Definitely. And the Niners, they're picking at number 27 in the first round, so a little bit deeper than most teams. But tell me about how John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and the entire 49ers front office work together to find those gems deeper in the draft. We could even go all the way down to Brock Purdy as Mr. Irrelevant. But what's the special sauce there for them to find those draft gems?
I think it's an understanding, and Shanahan's been around so long now with the same team that they understand, him and Lynch both working together so long, what they want, what the identity of their team is, right? They want to be physical in the trenches on both sides of the ball, right? Shanahan knows what type of playmakers that he wants in his offense, whether that be the running backs he's looking for his schemes, or, wide receivers. What is he missing in his wide receiver room? Things like that. Or even somebody like Brock Purdy, the intangibles matter as well. I just think on both sides of the ball, they have such a great identity. And every year, we do this even the last couple of years that I've been covering the draft for PFF. It's like, I scout certain guys and I look at their tape, and after a while I go, that's a Kyle Shanahan guy. Like I can just, and he's one of the signature ones. It's why he's been doing it so long. It's why he's made Super Bowls and he's won so many games, because his team has a clear-cut identity and they come into this process knowing what they're looking for.
We're almost a year removed from the 2025 draft, and it was a big one for the Niners. 11 rookies came in the building during that draft, and they've had to step up throughout the entire season. So being about a year removed now, how would you grade that draft, and what are your thoughts on how their performance was this past season?
I think the early returns were definitely mixed, especially with some of the injuries, right? Especially with, your first-round pick, Mykel Williams, getting hurt early in his career, only playing about half the season, right? But the idea was there to fix the trenches, right? Mm-hmm. And I think as the season went on, especially against the run run. You know, they were asking, especially with all the injuries, they were asking so many young guys to do so many things, right?
Yeah.
I think about, a guy like Marcus Siegel who got to play a lot, right? And now those young kids are going to go through another transition, losing Robert Saleh on defense, and now Raheem Morris is, another very good defensive coordinator who had a lot of young players in Atlanta, and he's dealt with a lot of young players throughout his career. So I think you did see progress as the year went on. And the biggest thing, even if it wasn't always the most dominant, especially in run defense, those guys, they learned how to play together. I think that continuity and those young guys getting so many snaps with some of the other veterans, the Fred Warners and Nick Bosa's of the world, with those guys getting healthy, that continuity of all those young guys playing together is going to be big time with so many snaps that they got.
John Lynch mentioned yesterday that a big area of focus this offseason is in the trenches on that defensive line, because that's what the 49ers brand is known for. So I want to hear, you mentioned that you could spot a Kyle Shanahan sort of guy when you're looking at the combine prospects, but what makes like a Raheem Morris guy, and how could Raheem Morris put his flair on this year's draft?
It's a little bit different than, say, Robert Saleh. Raheem Morris will mix up the fronts. You'll see some 4- and 5-man fronts that are a little bit different. Robert Saleh's really like a 4-down. I want speedy edge rushers, and I want penetrators on the inside. Raheem Morris mixes it up a little bit more. Even if you look at, especially the last couple of drafts he had with Atlanta, he's looking for quick stand-up outside rushers that have burst, although you don't need to replace Nick Bosa by any means. He fits in any defense. But I think you'll see a little more movement, right? You'll see Mykel Williams maybe playing on the inside a little bit. He might look for more speed off the edge, and then definitely if he wants to get in some of those 5-man looks that, say, even the Seahawks and Rams also do within the division, find some more power on the inside to just hold those gaps, even play, say, a gap and a half in run defense. So he's going to mix it up a little bit more schematically, and they're going to find his type of players similar to what they did in Atlanta.
Beautiful. So definitely the defensive front is where the 49ers fans are going to be looking during this combine and at the draft. But what are some key areas of focus that the 49ers need to address this offseason?
I think wide receiver for sure, right? Juwan Jennings being a free agent. I know John Lynch said he's been in contact with him lately. Brandon Ayuk, it sounds like he's not going to be on the team now. A guy like Kendrick Bourne, also a free agent. So you're really looking right now only solidified, with Ricky Pearsall out there at receiver. And then with George Kittle being hurt with the Achilles tear, we don't know how much time he's going to miss. That receiving production, you got to replace it somehow. So I think wide receiver, even up all the way up at that first-round pick at 27, could definitely be a focus. And again, there are some guys in this draft that I think, I've watched a couple of them and I go, Kyle Shanahan might like that guy. I'm telling you, that it always goes back to Shanahan for some reason. Well, I know for the reason because he's really good, but I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like, there's some certain guys that'll fit in this system that would be a lot of fun.
Beautiful. Now, as the combine is going on, what are some names, maybe a few guys that the faithful should follow that maybe might ring a bell once draft season comes along?
I think, so let's go. I'll give you one on each side. I think on the defensive side, I'll give you 2 guys around that 27 mark that should be there. I think R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. When you talk about the 49ers being last in the league in sacks, he's a little undersized. I think Saleh would have loved him. I think Raheem Morris might love him anyway. Explosive pass rusher out of Oklahoma. I mean, the way he gets off the ball is among the best in this class. Needs a little work on early downs and run defense, but plenty of other guys who can do that, right? Mykel Williams should be a really good run defender when he's healthy. You've got Bosa back. Talk about a guy who can rotate in and give you that pass rush juice, kind of like Bryce Huff did when he was healthy. That's what R. Mason Thomas can do. On the offensive side, my favorite player for the Niners early, Casey Concepcion, the wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Electric athlete, electric with the ball in his hands. Even back in his days at NC State, he played some running back. He could go back there, and he looked like a natural. If he was just playing running back, he might be a top 5 back in this class. Plus, he got better working down the field with his routes, and he's a dynamic punt returner. Look out for Casey Concepcion. I think he's a great fit for this offense.
Amazing. Well, the 49ers love those versatile players. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Absolutely. Appreciate it big time. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.